Now, to introduce our speaker, here is David Fain.
Thank you, President Jimmy. Kate Westbrook is a principal of LMN Architects and a graduate of Colgate University and the University of Pennsylvania School of Design. Go Quakers. She has contributed to an array of projects in the Seattle landscape, including the Hyatt Regency Hotel and the Seattle Convention Center Summit Building, both downtown, as well as the new mass timber building for the Foster School of Business at the UW, which is currently under construction. Kate is one of the project architects and designers of the new Seattle Convention Center Summit Building with over 1.5 million square feet of space, which will occupy 4 city blocks at the heart of Seattle's urban core. The building marks a transformative moment in the history of downtown Seattle. Located at the crossroads between 7 of Seattle's densest, most rapidly changing neighborhoods and framing 4 of its most prominent street corridors, the project will function as a connecting hub for multiple urban districts. It will be an economic catalyst, welcoming visitors from the community as well as locations around the world to create a vibrant mix of uses, including office, retail, and housing. Seattle 4, please welcome Kate Westbrook.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to share this project with you today, and there's lots to talk about with the Convention Center, and we have about 20 minutes, so I'm going to try to pack as much in as I can for you, but we'll kind of focus on some ideas about urban engagement, the architectural concept and expression, and then we'll talk a little bit about the project sustainability strategy as well. So you've probably seen the construction site, and our goals today are kind of to introduce you to the project. This is an aerial rendering of the new Seattle Convention Center. It will be called the Summit Building, and it's a complement to the existing Convention Center downtown as well. When starting this project, one of the things that our team really wanted to engage with as a question is how do we make a convention center that is going to enhance the downtown in a vibrant way and really connect with both people who are visiting Seattle, but also the people who live here, and make it a benefit to both groups. We also really wanted to showcase the beautiful region that we live in and think about what makes this convention center new and unique to Seattle, where you won't have that experience anywhere else in the country. It's really about highlighting some of the special qualities of Seattle. Another question that we wanted to engage with as a design team is how do you design for the future? What is the next kind of morphology of convention centers as we move from kind of the traditional convention center located on the outskirts of the city? It used to be a very kind of black box type construction, not a lot of transparency or engagement with the city itself. If you went and visited one of these older convention centers, you might not even enter the city or know which city you're in. It's very kind of anonymous. As we've moved through history, convention centers have become much more engaged with their city. We're starting to locate them in city cores. And on this next convention center that I'm sharing with you, we really wanted to think about how have people changed, how have the users changed who engage with this space, and what can we do to kind of make it an asset for the city as well as for the users. So the location of the new building, which you've probably seen, is the old transportation center right on Pine Street and Boren Way, adjacent to I-5. It is at this really interesting kind of crux in the city where we have all of these different neighborhoods that we're touching and engaging with. To the north, we have a lot of new development in Denny Triangle and South Lake Union. We're connected to Capitol Hill right across the highway, First Hill, the retail core, and we have these major street thoroughfares that connect us down to Pike Place Market and all the way up through Capitol Hill. That's sort of like the first layer of investigation when you look at a site, but we also looked at all of these other layers of what makes up the city in this kind of region and what are the elements that we should think about engaging with architecturally. One of the big ideas that we had is Our site is located right along I-5, which historically, when I-5 was built, it kind of cut a rift through the city. And one of our goals was to actually use this project as an opportunity to help knit the two sides of I-5 back together and really make an enhanced pedestrian connection and experience for people who are visiting, either Capitol Hill or downtown, that they're walking across and they're engaging with the convention center, and they're not walking across what feels like a very big void in the city right now. So that was one of our big goals. And this diagram is just to show where the existing convention center is currently, what is now called the Arch Building. And this new project takes up 4 city blocks. It's 1 block away from the existing convention center. The two are meant to work together so that you can actually either host events simultaneously in both buildings, or events can be off-phased. So that while one convention is setting up and or doing takedown in one building, the other building can be actually hosting and operating a convention at the same time. This starts to even out some of the ebbs and flows that we see in tourist and hotel occupancies. So it gives a more even flow commercially to the downtown core and to a lot of the retail and hotel outlets. Because we have a very constrained site and we are in the middle of the city, our first challenge with this new convention center is that we only had 4 blocks to work with. And 2 of those are sort of triangular blocks that we were proposing what we call co-development towers. So one is a office building and one is a residential tower. And then that leaves us 2 city blocks to build a really amazing new and larger convention center than what the existing convention center can offer. So the first challenge was to think about this in a new way, not in a single story kind of sprawling convention center, but truly a vertically oriented and stacked convention center. So we have 3 major assembly spaces: the exhibit hall in the basement, what we call the flex hall, which is in the middle of the building, and the ballroom at the very top level. These sort of graduate from being the most utilitarian in the exhibit space to a really refined, kind of beautiful space that you can host dinners and events and speakers up at the ballroom. There's also 2 levels of meeting spaces, and then a level at grade where we have our main lobby, retail space, and integrated parking. So this is a section through the building. You can kind of see this exhibit hall below grade. This is almost 200,000 square feet of exhibit space. So this will really allow the convention center to bring larger events in than has been possible in the past. The parking is located kind of in between exhibit and flex. And then we have our meeting rooms and the ballroom on top. In terms of sustainability, there were a lot of goals for this project, and we were able to integrate quite a few of them into our strategy. So in terms of LEED certification, we're targeting LEED Platinum, but we expect to at least get LEED Gold, if not Platinum. It's a salmon safe certified building. And then there's a kind of a wide array of additional measures that we've been targeting. We have 30% energy use reduction, and part of that is the design of the mechanical system and the heating and cooling for the building. It has a really great dedicated outdoor air ventilation system. And then we have a 50% potable water use reduction. Part of the way that we're achieving that is we are collecting rainwater from this really expensive roof and using that and reusing it for toilet flushing within the building. So that's actually a really great saving to accomplish. We're also using a lot of materials that we call red list free or vinyl and PVC free, sorry, and using some reclaimed and kind of natural and local resources as well, which I'll explain a little bit about some of our ceiling elements. We have photovoltaic arrays on the roof and extensive green roof terraces and planting all the way around the building. In addition to sustainability, we've also been thinking about public benefits, and there's an extensive public benefit package that went along with this project. It was focused primarily on this kind of adjacent neighborhood and zone that we've been working with around the convention center, but some of the public benefits kind of stretch out and further into the community. Some of those items, we have an extensive public art program, so there'll be 20 new permanent public artworks that are integrated into the new building design. Olive Way and Pike Pine street and pedestrian improvements. There's also historic building lighting that we're enhancing the Camlin Hotel and the Paramount Theater adjacent to our site. The project is funding freeway park improvements as well as the LID I-5 study that you may have seen. And then in addition to that, there's a bicycle master plan. For the construction site, there's a worker training and apprenticeship program, project labor agreements, and then additional funding for affordable housing. So now I will talk a little bit more about the architectural expression and kind of concept. One of the big things that we thought about in terms of the concept is that we wanted the convention center to really help promote engagement between the city and our local residents and communities and what's happening on the inside of the convention center. So what we did is we thought about the building as a very simple framework that can both use the city as a backdrop for the special events and conventions that are happening in the building, but also give the locals and give the city an opportunity to kind of peek into the convention center and see what's happening there, because there's a lot of really fun and exciting events that a lot of times people don't see. But I'm sure you've all noticed when there's Comic-Con happening or any of these events where people kind of spill out into the streets and bring their community with them. So we wanted to create a framework that was very clean, very simple, and really let the conventions kind of take over and express themselves through the building. So our material palette is very simply a lot of glazing, some very simple metal panels, and then warm wood touches as well as vegetation. While I showed you that section, which makes the building look very cleanly stacked from top to bottom like a pancake, it's actually a much more complicated kind of architectural expression when you break it down and look at all of the items and programs that sort of intersect one another. So we had this sense that the building really is comprised of all of these pieces that come together to create an urban collage and both express the functions of the building, but also respond to the city context and the engagement with the historic buildings that are adjacent to us, such as the Camlin and the Paramount. I'll talk through one of the main features, which we call the hill climb. And this is a really beautiful feature stair that's going to be located along Pine Street. You've probably noticed it as you drive down I-5, or if you're going down Boren, you can see it really well. And one of the goals here is, again, we were thinking about that connection between Capitol Hill and downtown and bridging that gap over I-5. So this hill climb functions as, for the users, they can sit there, they can socialize. It's a moment of connection and interaction, but it also provides really fantastic views out to the city and to the surrounding context. And below it, for the pedestrians, there's an additional kind of different scale of interaction where we have retail, 4 small retail zones located to kind of provide additional resources and pick up that texture and scale of the Capitol Hill neighborhood kind of leading across I-5. So this is this is a rendering that we made to kind of express and kind of help describe what the goals were in this design element. This is the hill climb here that you see. It's the main vertical circulation for the building as well as a social kind of experiment. These are those retail spaces down below. And you can see the convention center is very glossy and transparent. So this photo was taken probably a few weeks or a month ago, and you can see kind of what that expression is starting to be materialized as. And of course, the lights are all off on the inside, so you can't quite see through the gloss in the photo, but when lights are on, you'll really be able to have that sense of transparency. And then this is a rendering of the interior. You can see we have our main vertical circulation and then this really amazing social stair, all covered in wood, so that it's a really warm and kind of inviting place to spend time and hang out. This is the view that the hill climb provides all the way back down Pine Street. You can actually see the water there and see the Pike Place Market sign. So it'll be a pretty grand experience, I think, as a visitor. And there is a specialty ceiling here made up of these wood comb elements that really kind of bring some warmth to that space and provide kind of a visual connection to our local forest products industry. This view is looking down Pine Street as well, and you can start to see that top level ballroom space. The other thing to note here is that the underside of the hill climb is a reflective kind of mirrored soffit. So this creates the opportunity for some fun engagement with pedestrians. On these retail spaces, there's also some integrated artworks that are going to be printed permanently onto the metal panels that wrap the retail spaces. So you'll be able to see the artworks that are on the rooftop of these spaces in the mirrored soffit as you walk down Pine Street. Within the ballroom, this is a really fantastic space. It's about 60,000 square feet of occupiable meeting space. And we designed a really fun ceiling installation for this. And what we did is we found a really wonderful product that's local to our region and to our industry. And these are called wormwood boards. And what they are is they're made out of, they're cuts made from a log boom that's been sitting in the water that was used in the timber industry. And what all these little dark marks are is there's actually little organisms that live in those boards and have bored holes through them. So it creates a really interesting and beautiful texture to the wood itself. This view here is the main entrance on Pine Street. We have a plaza that is set back from the sidewalk. It also will house, I think, about 8 different public artworks that are all designed by a group of 5 Indigenous artists. So there's 5 women who worked together to design artworks both on this entrance and on the Olive Way entrance. And they each represent different local tribes to our region. And so that's going to be a really fantastic experience. You should look out for that when the building's complete and the artworks are installed. They're going to be really exciting and fantastic. You can also see this is the flex hall here, which is another large assembly space. And then above that, we have a roof terrace, which has the building set back on both sides. Part of this move to set the building back from the corner was to really give some space to the Paramount Hotel and the Paramount Theater and the Camlin Hotel, and respect kind of the historic buildings on the corner of our site. Within the building and adjacent to that terrace, we also have a very tall and large atrium that connects all levels of the building. It's an over 200 foot tall atrium. And the goal with this atrium was not only to provide visual connection between the levels of the building, so you kind of have a sense of where you are in space. When you're on a meeting level, you can look down into the flex hall and see what events are happening there. But it also brings natural light and daylight all the way down to the exhibition hall, which is below grade. This is a view of the other side of the main lobby. So we're looking back towards the Paramount Theater here. We're on Olive Way. There'll be an entrance on both sides here so that we can kind of welcome people both from the Denny Triangle side of the project and also the First Hill and Capitol Hill. Additionally, I should mention in this view, there are a series of hanging planters on the wall here, which are going to be a very cool feature. These planters were designed to mark the termination of Terry Green Street right at our project. So we kind of took that idea of a green street and wrapped it up the building vertically. And these are actually going to be quite large. So there will be small trees in these planters kind of hanging up along the wall. On 9th Avenue, we have what we call the 9th Avenue Market. And this is designed to be open to the public and an amenity to the whole neighborhood. There's going to be retail and restaurants located in this space all along 9th Avenue and connected to the publicly accessible lobby. You can kind of see that in this rendering here, right on the corner. This is that plaza I was talking about a few minutes ago with the native artworks integrated. And then I'll talk really quickly about some interior materials. The concept for the interiors is to really think about warmth, materials, craft, local resources, and light. There's a series of specialty ceilings throughout the building, which are all constructed with different types of wood. And I spoke a little bit about the ballroom ceiling and the hill climb ceiling with those cones. We have some additional specialty ceilings. This one is at the main public lobby, which I'll talk about a little bit more. This is designed as a chandelier, so it's lighting the space. But we also had an artist come and work with us to design integrated panels within the lighting so that they would cast shadows onto the floor of the main lobby. And the concept that the artist came up with for those shadows is she wanted to evoke the feeling of walking through the forest and the way that the light kind of becomes dappled through the tree canopy. So she designed some perforated patterns that we fabricated ourselves and are hanging up in the public lobby. You'll be able to visit and see those. And then this is a view of the interior ballroom. This is pretty recent, so it's still under construction. This is a 50-foot glass wall at the end of the building, so you can see out to Capitol Hill and really have that visual connection to the community. And then you can see all of these wormwood boards that are hanging in the ceiling and creating kind of a warmth and interest to the space. This is an example of what the boards were sourced from, are these log booms that helped kind of corral timbers as they moved down and through the Puget Sound and the rivers. So we sourced these locally and then milled them in order to get that board to hang in the ceiling. And I'm going to wrap up there, and I'll close by saying the other goal of this project was to create a really engaging public space on every side of the building. So this is a kind of a combined floor plan because our building engages streets that are sloping, but we really strove to locate retail and active public engagement on every side of the building. All of the retail is in orange that you can see both on the main convention center building and the co-development. And then the public artworks are located in this hot pink color. So we have more than 20 public artworks that will be permanently installed and are integrated to the architecture. So I will stop there and I welcome any questions and comments.
Kate, thank you. Whoops, there we go. Kate, thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. It was fascinating. I do have a number of questions that have sprung up on the Zoom. So I'm going to barrel right through these for you. First one, kind of overall, is there or is there not a connection between the two convention centers? Because there seems to be almost a separation here. Is that intentional? What is the connection or no connection between the two?
Yeah, so that's a good question. There is not a physical connection between the two buildings. And that was, it's a problem of, what land was available to purchase at the time, but also kind of an idea that users and people who are visiting the convention center, if they're using both buildings at the same time, it's actually great to have them leave the building and enter the city for a moment and kind of engage with it before re-entering their next meeting. So it was kind of an idea of using the city as part of the experience and allowing users to do that. So there were, street level improvements that were included in our design package to kind of improve the streetscape around the project.
So you actually wanted them to leave the building, walk through a couple blocks of our streets and go to another building, experience Seattle. Okay, got it. Next question. Interestingly enough, there was an intention to build our first convention center over the freeway. This one was not built over the freeway, but was built on a city street to the side of the freeway. Why not build over the freeway like the initial one? What was the reasoning there?
It's another great question. I'll say that the project, so where it's located right now, there is one corner that we're sort of cantilevering over the freeway. But it was something that we discussed as a project team, and the desire to kind of make that connection across I-5 was very strong. There are a lot of logistical difficulties with building over the freeway, and those are some of the things that the LID I-5 study was looking at. Some of it has to do with the level of structure that's required for these really expansive assembly spaces. The structural elements are huge and frequent, so it would be very hard to actually locate all of the columns and the structural elements that we need to bridge over the highway.
Okay. Next question. What will be the largest convention that we'll be able to host at this new convention center?
Oh gosh, I should have anticipated that question. And I don't have an answer for you, but I can follow up on how many people they can host. But it's significantly larger than the existing convention center, and that was by design. The existing convention center is limited to the point that some of our local tech companies can't host their conventions here because they have more people than can be accommodated. So the new building is designed with that in mind to make sure that we can accommodate our local industries.
So significantly more than the existing convention center.
Yeah.
Okay. And you could have made up any number you want. We would have believed you. Just want to let you know. Okay. Next question. Kate, can we host a Rotary meeting in the early stages of the opening? And if so, approximately when would that be?
So the building is scheduled to complete construction probably by the end of this year. Although you all know with the pandemic, things have shifted dramatically in terms of construction and supply chain issues. So we do anticipate the building to be complete construction-wise at the end of the year. It'll be another 6 months or so, I think, before the convention center operations begin, because they'll need to do commissioning and furnishing and kind of getting everything dialed. So I would imagine a year from today, you might be able to try to get into the building, or maybe a little bit after.
So Kate, I'd like you to think about a Rotary meeting in your convention center with a few hundred of us little Rotarians running all over the city telling them how great this place is, okay?
I love it.
Okay, keep that in mind. Next question. How much additional revenue can the additional convention center bring to the city? What are your projections? What have you been telling people?
Oh, that is outside of my scope, I'll have to say. I don't have a number on that one, but I can try to point you in the right direction.
Actually, that's another one we'd love you to come back with. That'd be a great one to come back with. Those two would be something. We're very monetary and analytical in our numbers here at Rotary. There's a few of us that are a little bit more personal, but we love our numbers here. Next question. Is there any connection above? Oh, yeah, we already know that question. Is there any connection above or below ground from the old convention center to the new one? The answer is no. You walk on the street. You already answered that one. Last question. Oh, this is an interesting one that somebody brought up. You showed us this incredible atrium, which was the inside of this place is dramatic with a capital D. Okay, we get it. You go inside this thing and it's going to take your breath away. We really got that. How am I doing here? I've got 3 minutes. Okay. Were there any fire prevention complications involved in the 200-foot high atrium design? There must have been some.
Of course, yeah. And there are a lot of fire protection measures within the building because we do have these multi-story openings. It was probably difficult to see in the rendering, but we do have fire shutters that will come across and close those openings at many of the floor levels. We can usually connect 2 floor levels together. So every other floor level has the ability to close off in case there is a fire and there's smoke moving through those atrium spaces. You don't want the smoke to kind of move up vertically through the building without being evacuated. So there are big fire shutters in the atrium.
So you kind of shut down sections like they did on the Titanic. Oh, bad example. Sorry. Okay, we'll think of something else. Anyway, this is an interesting. Let's move on. When you started talking about the architectural incorporation into this thing, really got the Rotarians. I got a whole bunch of similar questions. You got them kind of excited about all these components that you were talking about. The homage to our past. People were very excited about that on the chat. Here's one. Kate wondered if architecturally, all that you hoped for were incorporated in the build out, or were there cutbacks that took away significant desired elements? Oh, that was a great question.
Oh, that is a great question.
That was Charles Dickey did that one. Charlie, not Charles, he's Charlie.
You know, I have to say that almost everything we were going for, we managed to incorporate. I think, you know, where we had to make cutbacks, we tried to do it in ways that didn't affect the big concept and the big effect of the building and what it can kind of give back to the city. So I'd have to say that I feel like conceptually we got what we wanted from the design, and where we had to make budget cuts, we tried to do it in things like you know, some materials or finishes that we didn't quite, you know, get to put in the project. But I think, you know, we always strive to make the building functionally and conceptually you know, kind of meet all of those big goals. So I'd say that I think we did pretty well.
Kate, we're at 1:19. We keep to our schedule. I got to tell you, your presentation was fascinating. We weren't sure what we were going to get with the new convention center, but it was far more dramatic, exciting, and interesting, I have to say, than the old one. I could see you are building a different convention center for us. Thank you for this presentation. I'm excited to see it. So thank you very much on behalf of all of us at Rotary. And as another thank you, we are donating to Harvest Against Hunger in your name 600 servings of healthy produce. So wow. Thank you very, very much. Got to keep the thought going in conjunction with what you're doing with this convention center. We're very excited. We're very excited to see the inside of it a year from now. Keep up the good work. That's building something beautiful for the future of our city in our downtown core. And I look forward to parking in there when I go to the Paramount. So thank you very, very much.